for joining us here today to dedicate the Bergen South Post Office to the Honorable Judge Shirley A. Tolentino. My name is Stephen Hernandez, and I'm the District Manager for the Postal Service's Northern New Jersey District. Today, we gathered to fulfill the legislation that was initially sponsored by the U.S. House of Representatives by Congressman Donald M. Payne, Jr. The bill was passed by both houses of Congress and eventually signed by President Barack Obama as Public Law 113-39 on July 25th, 2014. Shortly, we will be unveiling the plaque to honor Judge Tolentino's legacy of public service by rededicating this post office that also is dedicated to public service. And it is certainly no coincidence that we are assembled here today on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. It was the great Dr. King who once said, "Everyone can be great because anyone can serve." Judge Tolentino's life and career are certainly the epitome of public service to Jersey City, to Hudson County, to the state of New Jersey, and ultimately to this great nation of ours. For all of us who walk through the doors of this post office, as employees, as customers, we will be honored by our post office's new name and inspired by the legacy of public service of the Honorable Shirley A. Tolentino. We have a full agenda, and I welcome learning more from our distinguished speakers today. So let's begin by welcoming the gentleman who sponsored the legislation in Congress to dedicate this post office to Judge Tolentino, the Honorable Donald M. Payne, Jr.
Thank you, and good morning. It's a real honor and a privilege for me to be here in Jersey City on Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard for such a wonderful occasion. As it was mentioned, I am the author of the legislation which allows us to be here today to honor a great American, a great New Jerseyan, and a great Jersey Cityan. Judge Shirley A. Tolentino blazed trails in a time where it probably was not easy to be in some of those capacities. It harkens me back, as I often have done over the past several years, as I'm sure the Tolentino family has done, to reminisce about their loved one. But it was really my father who first attempted to get this legislation passed. So all I did was, as a good son, pick up the mantle and carry it over the finish line. And with the length of the program and the numerous speakers and wanting to make sure that we get everyone in, I will make my remarks briefer than I had first anticipated I would. But I'd like to thank the mayor, Stephen Fulop, and Councilwoman Diane Coleman, who has really become a partner to me here in Ward F. And we continue to find opportunities to work together to strengthen this congressional district and Ward F and Jersey City as a whole. So, Councilwoman Coleman, thank you for accepting me and being a partner to me. I look forward to us continuing to work together. Such a wonderful occasion, and I'm just delighted to be here today and hosting this naming of this facility. It's one of my first official acts in Congress, my first piece of legislation passed. And, I was proud to introduce it in the 113th Congress. The bill was passed in March of this year and then passed by the Senate in July. And the Honorable President Barack Hussein Obama signed it into law on July 25th of 2014. As you know, Ms. Tolentino, I'm preaching to the choir, I guess. But it's been great for me to get the history lesson. I've known of Judge Tolentino from afar and known of some of her work, but to really have to get involved and do the history and learn about the things she was able to accomplish through her career has been rewarding for me. As a woman trailblazer, as a public servant, she was the product of local public schools and earned a scholarship to attend the College of St. Elizabeth in Morristown, New Jersey, graduating with a degree in Latin with honors. To put herself through law school, Judge Tolentino worked as a high school Latin teacher while attending Seton Hall School of Law and graduating as the only African-American female in the class of 1971. After law school, she became a deputy attorney general and later rose to the bench in Jersey City in 1976. Judge Tolentino became the second African-American woman to be named a municipal court judge in the state of New Jersey and is the first to be appointed to the Jersey City Municipal Courts. In 1980, Judge Tolentino earned a master's degree of law in criminal justice from NYU Graduate School of Law while continuing to serve the municipal court. In 1981, she continued to blaze a trail for others, becoming the first African-American presiding judge of the Jersey City Municipal Court. But her successes didn't stop there. In 1984, when she was appointed by Governor Thomas Payne, Judge Tolentino became the first African-American woman to be appointed to the Superior Court of the state. Later, she was appointed to the original Coleman Commission, which would later be called the New Jersey Supreme Court Task Force on Minorities. During her time, she became chair of the Subcommittee on Juvenile Justice and also served as Supreme Court chair of the Committee on Criminal Justice and Minority Defendants. The first go on. And this is a daughter of Jersey City that we should all be proud of. Yes. And doing all of this while having a family and raising 3 children. 3? 2? Just 2 girls? Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's a force of habit. At home, I have triplets, so my wife talks about the triplets and the big ones. So, I'm the 4th kid, so sorry about that. But I'm just really delighted to be here and to be able to stand here in this capacity today as a congressman from the 10th Congressional District. Only the second African-American congressman in this state's history, but we made history in the past election electing Bonnie Watson Coleman as the first African-American woman to the state of New Jersey. And so it's fitting that we're here today on this block in front of this edifice to honor a magnificent and incredible public servant, friend, sorority sister, jurist, mother, and honoree. And I am honored to have the opportunity to stand here in this capacity. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. As Postmaster and lifelong resident of Jersey City, it truly is an honor for me to be here, be afforded this opportunity to welcome you and to participate as the MC for this program. Please welcome the Mayor of Jersey City, the Honorable Stephen Fulop.
Good morning. So let me start by saying I wouldn't miss this for the world. And this was an important event, and we had a busy schedule this morning, but recognizing that of all the things that were happening today, this is amongst the most important. I want to start by thanking a couple people. First, I just want to recognize a couple people that have sent out into the community a lot of promotion to make sure that we get this done today the way what you see. Beautiful tent, heated inside, and a turnout that you see today, and that's Yvonne, that's Eugene McKnight, and that's Director of Cultural Affairs, Elizabeth Kane. If we could give them a round of applause. And I want to recognize first our esteemed Congressman who represents this area, who has really been the driving force from a governmental standpoint to get this sort of thing done through the federal process, which is not easy. We are in an environment where the U.S. Postal Service, unfortunately, is constantly under scrutiny, constantly talk about shrinking, and to be able to be an advocate and make sure that not only that something stays in the community, but recognizes a pillar of the community. We are grateful, and he continues the great work that his father did, and it was a seamless transition. I think we're all lucky for that, and that's Congressman Donald Payne. And then one more person I want to recognize is an advocate for Ward F. Many of you know her because she has done terrific work in the community from a social services standpoint. And I've had the privilege of working with her on the City Council, and her passion and her care for the community here is virtually second to none. And that's my friend and the Councilwoman for this area, and that's Diane Coleman. So I know we have many speakers here today, and we're joined by the State Senator and the Assembly people and my council colleagues and some of the freeholders and our judicial here leadership. And then you look out here and you recognize all the faces that Judge Tolentino touched through her life here in Jersey City. And as younger elected officials, I think when we look to the past leaders here, we can only strive to contribute and be recognized, and at some point leave in this city something maybe, hopefully, the same as what Judge Tolentino did. She literally has blazed the trail in order to make sure that she paves the way for future generations, whether it's being appointed as a judge to the municipal court, whether it's being appointed for the Superior Court, whether it's being involved in non-for-profits, literally pave the way for future generations from a leadership standpoint. And so the expression goes that you're never truly gone until you are forgotten, and the work today of Congressman Donald Payne and Councilwoman Diane Coleman will make sure that Judge Tolentino is never, ever, ever gone from Jersey City. So thank you all for coming out today. It is an important day, to say the least.
Good morning, everyone. This is truly an honor for me in more ways than one. First, when an African-American female has the honor and the privilege to recognize another African-American female who has made great strides in Jersey City, that is something to really be happy about, and I'm really happy about that this morning. I want to go back to say that Congressman Donald Payne has been great in this community. He also recognized that we're forging a partnership of levels of government to bring more resources to Jersey City. And this is just a typical example of the hard work that our congressman does in order to recognize those talents. Judge Shirley A. Tolentino. She was a graduate from Snyder High School, right on Bergen Avenue. We hear things said about the public school system today, but we're dedicating a post office to a graduate of Snyder High School. That is just a wonderful thing. She was the first African-American Superior Court judge. She was the first African-American Jersey City Municipal Court judge. She was the first African-American presiding judge. She was the first in her class, the first African-American female to graduate in her class from Seton Hall University. But most of all, she was a mother. She was dedicated and serious about her work. She was a tough judge. They tell me, don't go before her with the garbage, because if you do, she's going to put it in a lemon-scented bag and sit it outside the courthouse for pickup. So that was what they told me about Judge Tolentino. But before all of that, she was a community activist as an attorney. She did things, she provided services, she opened herself up to help people who were in need here in Jersey City. How fitting is that to name and dedicate the post office on Martin Luther King Drive after Judge Shirley A. Tolentino. I applaud the Congressman. I love my mayor because he helped make all this possible. If it wasn't for the recreation staff and Yvonne Hatchett of Congressman Payne's office and one of our soldiers, Eugene McKnight, we wouldn't be in the warmth, because originally it was going to be a stage and we would have been sitting in the cold, and they weren't going to let that happen. So they wanted to make this day dedicated to Judge Shirley A. Tolentino, a day that you can enjoy, be warm while you listen, and remember, she was a great judge, and this is a wonderful honor. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can we have a round of applause, not just because this is a dedication. This is more than dedicating a building made of marble and stone. This is a celebration of a life. So let's celebrate that. You could just look around this room and see one thing about Judge Shirley A. Tolentino. She was a phenomenal woman. She was a phenomenal woman who did phenomenal things. And everyone in this room is here, and everyone can testify to this greatness, the compassion, the dedication, and the love that this woman possessed and shared with all of us who are here. So that is why she is being honored, and that is why her life deserves to be celebrated. I have to say, on a personal note, I have one thing in common with her, and I tell people all the time. Her mother-in-law and my mother-in-law were best friends. And I know that they're smiling at this day. When I think of Judge Tolentino, the most poignant moment, or one of the most poignant moments in my life, she plays a part in, because the day that the first African-American mayor was sworn in Jersey City, he was sworn in by this first African-American history maker herself. That was when she swore in Glendy Cunningham as mayor. And I'll tell you, when I remember standing there that day and looking at the two of them, I thought they are now linked in history forever and ever and ever. It was a wonderful day, and it showed just how important it is for us to believe in our young people, to believe in our city, and to believe in our future, because this shows you that you can make it. We can make it. If we just have faith and be dedicated, we can do what this woman did. We can do it, because if she did it, we can do it. And that's what we need to remember today. And by seeing her name on this post office will always be a reminder to some young child going into the post office who will say, who was Shirley Tolentino? It will give an opportunity for a conversation to discuss just how great this woman is, and a reminder to that child that he or she could do the same thing. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Renata Thomas. I'm a Fred W. Martin 8th grade student. I would just like to say thank you for giving me this grateful opportunity to help celebrate this wonderful legacy of the Honorable Judge Shirley A. Tolentino. And just by looking around this room full of love shown for her, I felt that it was appropriate to sing Greatest Love of All by the late Whitney Houston. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. And give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. Everybody searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone who fulfilled my needs. A lonely place to be. And so I decided to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. Because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself, it is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of, it leads you to a lonely place, find your strength in love. Thank you.
Good morning. Elected and appointed officials, leaders of this community, family, and friends. And because Shirley was such an inclusive person, I must give a shout out to those people that knew her, such as those who she went to college with at St. E's, Snyder High School graduates, and her organizations, all of the professional ones, the Girls Friends Incorporated, the Links Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta sorority, all of the people in Jersey City who she loved, whether you were a relative or one of her adopted relatives or her godchildren, everybody who came in contact with her, and those of you who never had that pleasure, you're doing so now because we're all here to sing praises to her. I want to thank all of you who have spoken so eloquently about this beautiful woman who was my best friend for more than 53 plus years. She would have been so pleased to have heard the young lady sing The Greatest Love of All, because she believed in the youth, and she showed that by mentoring so many. What a celebration of life, so well lived. It is absolutely the best venue to honor the judge because we are in her childhood neighborhood. Back in the day, Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard was Jackson Avenue. Some of you know that. A street we sometimes traveled to get to Snyder. She lived on Kearney Avenue, which is now Flint Wilson Way. Down the street is the Glenn Cunningham Public Library. And you heard from his wife today, so you know he also went to Snyder. And the former offices of Congressman Donald Payne Sr., now the office of Donald Payne Jr. And up the street is the Mary McLeod Bethune Life Center. We know that these African Americans who, like the judge, spent their time on this earth to better and improve many lives in their own unique ways. They have all been recognized and honored for breaking records and being positive examples for all of us and the much larger communities of the world. So she's in very good company. Like Dr. King, she did not want to be remembered for her degrees, honors, awards, leadership positions, and other achievements, but for the good that she did. She was a shining star of and for Jersey City. She is a forever symbol of greatness for and of Jersey City. With this post office being dedicated to honor her and her memory, she will continue to contribute to the future of Jersey City. With her name on this post office, her memory will be a beacon of light to those who knew her as well as to those who have not had the pleasure, because just looking at her name will give all of us here today and all of those yet unborn the inspiration to love, to have hope, to have a thirst for knowledge, a sense of responsibility and respect among her many qualities. She was a compassionate person, especially to females, minorities, the not-so-privileged, and others in need. This is agape, the love of all people, which she practiced daily and learned from her beloved mother, Mrs. Teresa Hayes Tart, who nurtured, inspired, and molded her into the woman that we knew. From this very close mother-daughter relationship evolved one of the judge's favorite and often used quotes, "Waste not, want not." Of course, this historically referred to food, but she extended it to include your brains, time, effort, potential, talent, gifts, and blessings, because she wholeheartedly believed that there is greatness in everyone. Lastly, this dedication is a testament to pay homage to the illustrious past of this remarkable woman, your friend and mine. I am so thrilled that this dedication has culminated so that from this day forward, in the paraphrased words of the great Latin poet Virgil, and I quote, that no day shall erase the Honorable Shirley A. Tolentino from the memory of time. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Patricia Mosley, and I'm very nervous this morning, but I'm just going to say what I have to say quickly and finish. Okay, I'm honored to say that I worked with the Honorable Shirley A. Tolentino for 30 years. I served as her court clerk when she was a Jersey City municipal judge and as her judicial secretary in the New Jersey Superior Court. Judge Tolentino was one of the most wonderful women I have ever known. In 1976, when she was appointed to the municipal court, I was working at City Hall. The talk of the day was the fact that Judge Tolentino was the first African-American woman to serve as a municipal court judge. I have loved the field of law ever since I studied business law in high school. I was so excited I ran to the rotunda there in City Hall so I could witness such a historic event. There she stood. Along by her side stood her husband, Dr. Ernesto A. Tolentino, and her oldest daughter, Ana-Ramona Tolentino. Their youngest daughter, Candida, was a small child then. I remember watching in awe of her and her achievements as the first African-American woman judge in the state of New Jersey. In 1979, I learned that there was a position open at the Jersey City Municipal Court. I applied for it and I got it. I started out typing subpoenas downstairs. One day, Judge Tolentino's court clerk, Beatrice O'Brien, called out sick. Guess who was called upstairs to replace her for the day? How ironic would it be for me to work alongside that young African-American woman who I had admired from a distance years before? Judge Tolentino became not only my boss, but also my role model, my big sister, my mentor, my best friend, and my guardian angel. She was the most brilliant person I have ever known. Some of her many attributes that I admired was her fairness, her compassion, and her generosity. Her passing 4 years ago was a substantial loss to our community as well as to me personally. She was a constant and positive figure in my life, a life I never dreamed of without her. Much of whom I am is because of who she was. We spent countless hours together, both professionally and socially. She was always including me by inviting me to her social club events, legal functions, speaking engagements, family parties, etc. Her passing has left a large void in my life. It has taken me all these 4 years since her passing to forge on and move past the hurt and continue life without her. I took an early retirement because I did not want to carry on and work without her. Not a day goes by that I don't think of her. I am pleased that Congressman Donald Payne Sr. recognized the trailblazer that Judge Tolentino was, and that he and his son, Congressman Donald Payne Jr., have elected to name his post office after Judge Tolentino to continue her legacy and help to remind others of her achievements. I salute them. Thank you.
Good afternoon to the Congressman, the Councilwoman, to Mayor, to others who are here, especially to the family of Judge Shirley Tolentino. It's my great honor to be asked to say a few words at this dedication ceremony on behalf of Judge Tolentino. Judge Tolentino swore me in as a judge. There were many judges I knew at the time, but I thought it right and correct for me to be sworn in by Judge Shirley Tolentino. That's how much she meant to me. I practiced law before Shirley when she was a judge and I was still a practicing attorney. Others have talked about her fairness. Pat has just talked about her fairness as a judge. She was extremely fair. I've known Shirley for a number of years. We're contemporaries. I went to Lincoln, she went to Snyder, so I didn't socialize too much with her in those days, except that I remember going to a party that Shirley had right at Kearny Avenue, a couple of blocks from here, as someone has just said. I don't know how I got there that evening. I can't remember specifically, but I had a very good time, and she, as usual, throughout her life was just a wonderful and welcoming person for me and others who were there. I followed Shirley, her career, as a practicing attorney when she was sworn in, when she became the first Superior Court judge, female, African-American in the state of New Jersey. I was then a newly elected assemblyman at that time. And of course, after that, we know just what she has accomplished throughout her life. You have heard all of that. I think it is spectacularly appropriate, Congressman Payne, that this post office be dedicated and named after Judge Tolentino. I believe that a post office as a metaphor for the life and legacy of the public service of Shirley Tolentino is wonderfully appropriate. Now, what a post office is a place that is symbolically and substantively reflective of the founder's principle that all men and women are created equal and entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A post office serves and equally welcomes all persons, regardless of race, gender, age, religion, sexual orientation, ethnicity, or socioeconomic status. It is a place that empowers individuals, businesses, civic, social, and cultural organizations by facilitating the exchange of important communications. In the community of Jersey City and Hudson County, indeed New Jersey, and throughout the United States of America, Shirley Tolentino was and is a legendary woman, admired and emulated for her achievements and her qualities. We've heard today about those many achievements and those many qualities. It is therefore, in my view, very, very appropriate and very, very thoughtful that this Bergen Station post office be dedicated in memory and in dedication of the life of our great Shirley A. Tolentino.
I am so very proud to be here right now. I wanted to have all the ladies of Delta Sigma say, at least raise your hand, so that you know that you're in the room. And that's why so many of us have on red. Because I'm a proud woman of Alpha Kappa Alpha, and I'll give you a skew today because I'm proud to stand here wearing this red. When Congressman Payne had indicated that she didn't know whether he had 2 daughters or 3 daughters. I'm glad Pat Balazar is not here. That was her number 1 law clerk. I was number 4. So she and I have been fighting for the last 30 years over who she was the best. Now, I'm not going to miss Eloise over here and Judge Jones in the back of the municipal court. So 4 of us, we came right in a row. But I was by her side from the day that I came in as her law clerk to the day she swore me in as a judge, and to the day that God took her home. So I'm just going to give mine from a very personal note. It's something I wrote to my Judge T. She rejoiced in God with a grateful heart and a joyful spirit. She possessed the ability to genuinely say to another woman, I admire your qualities and your attributes, because she was confident within herself. She was always had a willingness to help others. She was a consoler even when she was hurting. She learned from her mistake in the knowledge that she too was not perfect. She spoke with words of wisdom and never with malice. Even in her personal suffering, her smile remained unshaken. She lifted her head and she continued to walk all through her pain. She inspired me to be the best that I could be and to learn from my life experiences. She didn't just touch my lives, but she touched the lives of multitudes. Until the end, she remained determined to be a pillar of strength. No matter the circumstances, she smiled every time, and her smile always said, I love you. Judge T had the courage to take on the world. She enjoyed her life. She was a fighter to the end. She was humble, but still fought to her last breath. And all the world, when asked, who is the woman you most admire? Only after God and my own mother is my judge, Shirley A. Tolentino. I can smile today because I am secure in knowing who she was and how much she loved me. When loved ones are taken by God, we often ask, how will they spend eternity? I never have to ask that question when I think about my Judge T. I'm at peace because her life spoke for itself. I stand here today with my own trials and tribulations, but one thing I know for sure, I may not have been bone of her bone or flesh of her flesh, but she considered me a daughter nonetheless. So with her strength, I stand tall. I will take my licks, but I will never fall, because I'm a small piece of a clay proudly formed by Judge T, and I pray the strength she had, that God just puts a little bit of that strength in me. Judge, you will never be forgotten, not for a day. I will strive to carry your torch, come what may. You taught me to own my own life decision, to determine for myself what I choose to do. I'm going to work damn hard to be proud, but I have no delusions. There will never be another like you. We can build skyscrapers and put your name on it, but without you, this world will never be the same. So as everyone walks through this post office, this building, I hope you see not just brick and mortar, but the solid foundation of a phenomenal woman I call Judge T.
It's great to see everybody. when I think of Shirley, it's impossible for me to think of Shirley and not think of her entire family. And that's an interesting thing. That's not the case with every person, but it is the case with Shirley. And I think when you think about family, what your family is, they're the people who are closest to you, who you pour your love into in a very special way. And because you love them so much, and you accept responsibility in every way to do what you can for them, you leave a mark on them. And you end up impacting their lives in a way that when you are gone, you are still there because of the part of you that you left in them. I think a lot of us, we hope for life in heaven someday. But the thing about it is that when you love people and when you love your community, you already have a life that extends beyond you because of what you leave in all of them. Earlier, they were talking about Shirley growing up on Kearney, and they were talking about going to Snyder and walking these streets and so forth. And all those physical things are part of what she's leaving behind, but all of us, more significantly, or what she's leaving behind, she's in us. And when we're here, she's here with us because of all those little parts of her that she's left in us. It's a wonderful thing to celebrate something like this. But the thing I think that's so particularly marvelous about it, it's not just that the building will be there, it's that her family, the people who are her legacy, who are going to carry on what she started and left in them, is that they're here today. Because you're here today celebrating her. Amen.
I'm very overwhelmed today, and I'm happy for the show of support. I want to say greetings to all that are here, and thank you for your show of support for such a phenomenal woman, my mother, the Honorable Shirley A. Tolentino. I want to give a special thanks to Congressman Donald Payne Jr. and Miss Yvonne Hatchett for making this event become a reality. Councilwoman Diane Coleman and Mayor Fulop, and all other dignitaries, officials, community activists, family, and friends for your additional support. And last but not least, a special thank you to my father, Dr. Ernest Tolentino, for ensuring that my mother's legacy continues and now is a part of eternal history. I'm especially proud because my mother so rightly deserves this honor for all of her hard work, not only as a judge, but because she equally was a strong advocate for the Jersey City community. She was born and raised in Jersey City, stayed and worked here all of her life, which is why it is most befitting that this post office, only a few short blocks away from where she grew up, is being officially named after her today. Now, every time I pass by here, my spirit will be lifted and inspired just to know that this building stands in her honor. My family and I thank you again for all of your support, and we wish you a very joyous holiday season. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Ernesto Tolentino, and I'm the young man that's been privileged to have lived for 43 years as the husband of Shirley Tolentino. The irony of this is, and that's with the progress of females today, that originally she was the doctor's wife and I became the judge's husband. Now, believe it, in most of the men out here, that was not a problem. And part of that is because I was then an escort to a wonderful, wonderful woman. And it didn't start, believe it or not, when I was 43 years ago. It actually started when we were 14. So our relationship goes back 50-something years. I was her escort in the prom. I was her escort in the cotillions during that particular period of time. So it was wonderful in those days, and we had a wonderful relationship for all of those years. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of information that are really reflections. Where we are now is between Iggy Avenue and Kearny Avenue. Shirley was born in Jersey City. In her early years, she lived on Iggy Avenue, right there close to Bergen Avenue. On the right-hand side of me is Kearny Avenue. She moved from Iggy to Kearny when she went to high school and was there all the way up until the period of time that she was halfway through St. Elizabeth's College. We've talked a lot about the various things that Shirley did, but I think if Shirley were presently here, she would want to give a message out to the young people here. Many of the people that are sitting in this audience are all graduates of the schools, and most of them of the public schools that existed during that period of time. And the truth of the matter is that during that period of time, all of the schools in the city of Jersey City were academic high schools. And if you were to look around here and look at the Snyder graduates that are here, including my partner, Dr. Irving, which I think is here right at the present time, many of them, you look back and you talk about a Paul Pantozzi, who was president and CEO of Provident Bank, or you talk about a Joe Panapinto, one of your largest developers here in town, or you talk about a Billy Perkins, or you talk in reference to Timmy McGee. I think I saw him here earlier. All of these people were successful people that all went to school right here at Snyder High School. And the area you're now standing on, and you heard that mentioned before, this used to be called Jackson Avenue. The minority community here, which was called On the Hill during that period of time, only stretched from Atlantic Street to Kearny Avenue and from Ocean through Jackson. Everything east of here was not minorities, and everything that was west of here was a mixture of Bergen Avenue, and then you cross Bergen, and that was the end of that. So, when you talk about a community that was very strong and very united, it was altogether different. So I want all the young people that are here to recognize something. You have to recognize that they have to follow their dreams, because many good things can happen to them when they follow their dreams. Never to give up, and it will all come to fruition. As an example, I had an opportunity during my particular lifetime, because of Jersey City and because of the Catholic schools at that period of time, to have a wonderful education, but a wonderful experience. And I'll just give you these quickly to tell you that by the time I was 13, I was an All-American little basketball player here, running around. I was the individual that met the President of the United States at that particular age and was ushered through the White House. I met Nixon and went to lunch with him in Washington, D.C. I had the opportunity when we got ready to dedicate, and I really got ready to dedicate the coming home of the Brooklyn Dodgers to Jersey City as a transition, when they were getting ready to transition between Brooklyn to LA, I gave the key to Jackie Robinson for the city of Jersey City. So then and now, and the situation has gotten much better than what it had been recent though. I see many opportunities for young people to do what they want to and to never give up on their particular dreams. I thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Candy Tolentino. I'm Shirley's youngest daughter, and this is my first time back to Jersey City since I boarded a plane 4 years ago to visit my mother in the hospital. So I'm sure you can appreciate how this is a very bittersweet occasion for me. It warms my heart to see all of you here. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you to everyone, Congressman, Councilwoman, Mayor, everyone, friends, family, who put so much love and effort into making this happen. I feel that the naming of this post office after my mother comes at a very apropos time. When we consider what's happening in our country right now and in our world, I think it's very evident that our world needs healing. And that there really is a call for justice. And I think that when I reflect upon the relevance of a building being named after my mother, of course I'm humbled and I'm in awe of that happening. However, I think about what's the eternal relevance of something like this? And I feel that because my mother was never really a person who intended to have buildings named after her or books written about her or anything like this, I don't think that if we peered back at her goals list, we would have seen anything like that at the top of the list. Instead, she just focused on being excellent. She just had a passion for sharing her gifts with the world, and she just put her heart into something and gave 100%. And as a result, 4 years later, after she's passed from the earth, we're still inspired by her effort. She's still being heralded for her good work and for her dedication. So that says to me at this time when the world is aching for healing that each one of us has that same opportunity to just focus and put our heart into whatever it is that we're good at. Whatever special talent we were given that the world so desperately needs. If ever there was a time for the elders to share their wisdom and their consciousness, it's now. If ever there was a time for the youth to share their vision and their spirit, we need it now. If ever there was a time for the teachers to teach their lessons and for the dancers to dance their numbers and the poets to write their sonnets and the singers to sing their song and for everybody to show up to immortalize not only the incredible legacy of my mother, but for all of those who we idolize and who we draw inspiration from, who paved roads for us. Because if we are each able to share just a piece of our hearts and a piece of our talents and our gifts, if we are able to be the change, right, to be the change that we so much need in this world, not only will we uplift our community, but I dare say we can even uplift the whole world. Thank you so much for coming. I love you. Thank you.